There you go. Okay, we got everybody. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Thank you all so much for joining us and bearing with us through our technological difficulties. Stephanie's going to assist me with taking some notes just because I'm going to struggle a little bit with WebEx and running the meeting and doing the note taking. Before we get started, I just want to say how much I've missed all of you guys and how wonderful it is to see all of you and how happy I am that you guys are all healthy and safe through everything that's been going on. So it's wonderful to see all of you. In light of the fact that we're doing this remotely, if you all are okay with it, I don't think we're going to do a Pledge of Allegiance today, just because I think that would just be a little bit awkward since we're all in different locations. But I did want to do an invocation. Ty, if you wouldn't mind, sir, if you could do an invocation for us, that would be wonderful.
Okay, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, well, good to see everyone. Father God, we bless you today.
Unmute yourself, Ty. You're muted.
I'm muted.
I hear him.
Okay,
You're still on mute.
No.
I can hear him.
I can hear him. I hear him.
I can hear him.
I can hear him.
Can you hear any of us, Liana?
I hear him.
I think Liana's speakers are.
Yeah.
Yes, Leanna, can you hear me?
I think your speakers are off.
You think her speakers are off?
Somebody better send her a text. Send her a text.
Are we having technological issues?
You are.
We can all hear each other.
Yes, can you
hear me? My speakers are off. So nobody can hear me? That's the problem?
We can hear you.
We can hear you.
Liana, can you hear me?
Hear me? Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
We can hear you.
Yeah, we hear
Anything
you.
I just
You're
said.
not hearing us.
Okay, let me start this all over again. I'm so sorry. So hi, everybody. I'm going to call the meeting to order. I'm so sorry. I've missed you. Thank you guys for being a part of the meeting. It's so wonderful to see your faces. I'm going to, in light of the fact that it's a bit awkward to do allegiance when we're all in different places, we would part of the but I did want to ask Ty if he could do an invitation for everybody. So Ty, if you wouldn't mind.
I don't mind. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Father God, we're so grateful and thankful for your presence, for your grace and your mercy. Lord, in the midst of everything that's going on right now, the COVID-19 pandemic and the distress with race in our country, we understand more than ever, Father, that you are the answer and the solution, Father. We know that you're not a God of color, you're a God of people, and you're a God of truth. So we just ask that you would help us to continue to fight the good fight of faith, continue to fight for those who are less fortunate than we are. And it doesn't matter what color they are, Father, because we want to do your will, and we want to make sure, Father, that you are pleased with our efforts. We thank you right now, Father, for continued unity among this commission in our county, in this city, and in this country, Father. We ask that your hope would be the hope that everyone would hold on to. And we thank you for it right now. In your son's precious and holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much, Ty. I appreciate that. All right, I'm going to do roll call. If you wouldn't mind just letting us all know that you're here. Commissioner Oakley?
Here.
Ken?
Present.
Matt?
Here.
Kelly?
Present.
Lieutenant Fields?
I'm here.
Bill? Bill? Bill, I see you. Are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Stephanie?
I'm here.
Alan?
Present.
Toby?
Here.
And Ty?
Here.
Awesome. We have everybody. Adam, did we have anyone submit anything for public comment for the meeting?
There was no request for public comment.
So we're good to go.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Leanna,
Yes,
Leanna,
ma'am.
Danielle with the county. I'm on.
Okay, oh, thank you, Danielle. All right, thank you so much. I'm so sorry. I apologize.
No, you're totally fine. I just want to let you guys know I'm here if you need anything.
All right, thank you. All right, we're going to move into the agenda. I just wanted to start with the approval of the February minutes. Obviously, since we've had the COVID-19 pandemic, we haven't had a meeting since February. So I just wanted to put those minutes before you all for approval. If anyone would like to put forward a motion to approve the minutes, or if there's any issues with any of them, to please let me know that. Does anyone have a motion to approve the minutes as written?
I do. I move to accept the February meeting minutes.
Okay, is there a
Ron
second?
Oakley seconds.
Alan, was that you?
Oakley seconds.
I'm sorry, who was that?
Ron Oakley
Oh,
seconds.
thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate it. All right, so all in favor of approving the February minutes as written?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried with no objection. I will go ahead and send those minutes to the county to file with board records. I have some very exciting news. We have a new member with us. As you guys know, Alan retired in April. He was our law enforcement representative. And his position is required by our resolution. It is one that is appointed by Sheriff Malco. So Alan's replacement is Lieutenant Luby Fields. And I have had the absolute pleasure of working with Lieutenant Fields in the past in my role with Baycare. He was part of an initiative that we worked on together called CARE, where I got to go out with him do some work around the overdose epidemic that we've had here in Pasco County. And I just absolutely adore him. I hope that's okay to say. He's just an absolutely wonderful human being. So I'm just absolutely thrilled that he's able to join us on the commission. So Lieutenant Fields, I just wanted to welcome you and thank you so much for serving with us. And if you had anything you'd like to say to the members, just wanted to give you that opportunity.
Oh, no, thank you for that warm welcome. I appreciate it. And I'm glad to be here. And I look forward to meeting everybody, a couple people I know. I look forward to meeting everybody and doing the good work. So thank you.
Can I say something real quick? Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
There's a lot of feedback, so if anybody is not muted when they're not talking, I think it might be helpful to mute yourself until you want to speak. I'm hoping that'll help. But also, welcome Lieutenant Fields.
Absolutely. So thank you so much, Lieutenant. So with that being said, our first order of business is to address our member at large position that we currently have. That was a topic of discussion that we had in previous meetings. In the past, when we have had a member at large position, the last time we're kind of in this position, Rick Pass was the CEO of Pasco Kids First. We had a member at large position, and when Rick resigned from Pasco Kids First, as a courtesy to him as a founding member of the commission, we asked Rick if he would be interested in stepping into the member at large position. And so I wanted to do a courtesy to Alan Wilkett as a founding member of the commission. Wanted to offer him that same courtesy. So Alan is joining us today just because I felt that that would very much be the right thing to do, to at least offer him that and have a conversation around that. So Alan, I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but I wanted to have that as a discussion with the members. And with you, Alan, as well. So I just kind of wanted to throw that out there to everybody and have that as a discussion about moving Alan over to that position. And Alan, if you're even interested. So I'm going to go ahead and put myself on mute.
I guess that was a cue for me to talk. I've enjoyed being part of the commission. It was something that I've been a part of since it began. And so I would be interested in continuing to serve if that was desired. And if it's not desired, then obviously I'll do something else. But But if it's so desired, then I would be glad to stay on and do what I can do to assist.
Members, what are your thoughts?
So I'd like to put forth a motion to accept Alan as a member.
I'll second that.
I'll start it.
I'm fourth.
That's great.
Who ended up seconding it officially? Who was first?
That was Bill Cronin.
Okay, thank you.
So all in favor of Alan Wilkett being our member-at-large representative on the commission?
Aye.
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 Opposed? All right, motion carried with no objections. Alan, welcome to your new official position on the commission. Thank you for agreeing to stick with us.
Can you tell how fast I am with that mute button?
That being said, I'm sorry, Alan, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's okay. Thank you, everyone.
That being said, Bill, I believe you had something that you wanted to say and present, Alan, on behalf of.
Yes, I do. So no good deed goes unpunished, but we did want to share our congratulations to Alan in his retirement, but especially thank him for all the service that he's done over the years and being instrumental in not just the founding of this commission, but all the partnerships that have been established through the commission, and especially for those that can't be heard, that we work towards helping on a regular basis, who are never here at these meetings because they're the people that we're trying to help. We've all come together as a commission and pitched in to provide a special small token of our appreciation, and it is a plaque. And I don't know if Liana can show the actual plaque on the screen. I sent her a photo of it that maybe we can do a screen share, but I'll read it to the group so that you can hear. It says, honoring servant leadership, November 14th, 2005 through April 1st, 2020, Corporal Alan Wilkett. It says, a leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. Thank you for all of your wisdom and dedication to ending human trafficking in Pasco County, Florida. As we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them. May we all live up to your example. And it's from No More Pasco and the Pasco County Commission on Human Trafficking. And we wish you the very best in your retirement. And we also have a small gift card for you as well, too, that everyone pitched in. So we'll make it a point to get this to you. But as a friend and colleague, we're all thrilled with everything that you've done and wish you the very best and honored that you're continuing to serve with us.
Love you, Corporal Wilkin. Love you, Alan. You're an awesome guy, awesome man of God. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, everyone. That was unexpected. So all I can do is say thank you, because I consider you not just colleagues, but every single one of you is my friend. So thank you so much. I am very touched by that. This has been a weird time to retire. It's, everybody's staying at home, and it's just been kind of a weird moment. But thank you so much. That's all I know how to say. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, and thank you, Bill, for coordinating that effort on behalf of the commission, and Alan as chair, and on behalf of Stephanie as vice chair. Thank you so much for your service, and we're grateful that you decided to hang in there with us, and thank you for I know I bug the what out of you, so I appreciate you sticking around. All right, so we're going to go ahead. We have a lot to cover today, so I just, in respect of your time, just want to kind of move through the agenda. I want to move through the old business pretty quickly and really kind of get into the meat of our event planning because we're way behind on that. So I really want to focus most of our time today. Stephanie, could you give them a brief update on where things stand with the Department of Health Safe Place campaign, or where we don't stand, I guess, currently with that?
Yeah, so Liana and I had brought up, I think it was in the February meeting, that we had been speaking with a representative from the Florida Department of Health, and the idea was that they were going to create safe places and do a lot of trainings and awareness generating and things like that. No big surprise. They came back and said that their leadership wanted to kind of go their own way with it and run with it themselves. So we got the wind taken out of our sails a little bit, but we are still working with them. And we are now scheduled to do a conference call at the end of October to cover topics such as the commission, a potential collaboration, the trafficking-free zones, and awareness generating within the Department of Health. So it's looking a little different than what we had hoped for and that what we initially presented to you guys, but we're still moving forward with it, and we're still going to try to make a really solid collaboration with the Department of Health. So that's the update.
Thank you, Stephanie. So moving on, rescheduling our volunteer recognition event. That was something that we were going to do in April, recognizing our 20 plus volunteers that had contributed to the work of the commission over the last fiscal year. We were going to bring them all together at a meeting, recognize them. Obviously, when the pandemic hit, that was no longer going to be obviously something we could do. We do still want to recognize them this fiscal year. We have the certificate frames ready to go, and the certificates have been designed. Wanted to get you all's feedback on the best way to recognize them. Obviously, with the social distancing and CDC guidelines, it might not be the best idea to bring them to our next meeting if we are able to hold it in person. Although, if we're at the Cody room, it might. I wanted to get your thoughts and feelings. A couple options. We could bring in maybe 5 or 6 at a time and recognize them in smaller groups. If we hold in-person meetings, we could do that. I could deliver things to them personally. I know all of them personally. I could make arrangements to drop things off if you all would feel more comfortable with that. We could bring them all in at one time. I wanted to get your thoughts on how you all wanted to proceed with that. And again, our fiscal year ends in September. So this is something I would like to get done in acknowledgement of their work that they have contributed over the last year. So what are people's thoughts as to how you would like to handle that moving forward? Don't all talk at once.
Oh, can you hear me, Liana?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm not sure how the recipients would feel about being in a large group right now. I like 1 or 2 of your other options, which is bring them in small groups, or if you personally know them and you feel comfortable with that, that you would deliver them. But I think the larger groups at this point in time, especially when the virus is spreading a little bit now, the numbers are going up and not down, that they would all want to be in the same room at the same time, unless we had them wear masks and gloves and yeah. Okay, that's only my thought.
Anyone else have a preference? No? Okay, my thought had just, at some point had wanted you guys to meet them. You could know who they were. I don't mind dropping them off personally. I can do that if that's something you all would want for me to do. That's fine. Or if you want to do them in small groups of 5 when we start meeting in person, we can do that as well.
I have a thought.
I think I think part of it would be determined on when we can meet in person and what the county's restrictions might be on that meeting space as far as social distancing. Because I mean, clearly, if we're using the same room at utilities and we're able to use the full size of the room, we can adhere to a lot of social distancing. It is a large room, and we can probably take care of that. But we would need to make sure that they have the complete room. And I'm fine with that as long as we can do it properly, and we can actually write that in the invitation message to them that will ensure social distancing policies are intact.
Liana, what has the county given you any information regarding the utilities building moving forward?
No, from what I understand, they're hoping to start opening up in July is kind of what the anticipation is, that we would be able to resume use of the county building then. So it would be up to this group as if you guys were ready to meet in person. They can, obviously, if we have that whole room, we would be able to socially distance appropriately. And, you know, that wouldn't be an issue. My thought was kind of what we could do is maybe invite like 5 of them to come in July, 5 of them to come in August, 5 of them to come in September, something along those lines. Not all of them may feel comfortable coming, and I could deliver some in person. Some of them are students. One of them is Stephanie's daughter. So they may, you know, and some people may not wish to do that. So yeah, it's really up to, I just wanted to make sure you guys were comfortable. I mean, I don't want to talk this to death. I just kind of didn't want to just run off with it on my own. So do you guys want to kind of do the small group thing when we start meeting in person?
I have a thought.
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe would it be better to call each of them and ask them how they feel about being in a group as long as they're social distancing, or if they would prefer to be in smaller groups? Let them decide.
Well, yeah, I could just extend an invitation and then leave it up to them. Like say, hey, we're going to do small groups on these dates. You know, if you'd like to come, if not, I can hand deliver it to you. You could do it that way. Does that sound like a good plan?
I like that plan.
I like that too.
Right.
Yep.
Are you guys good with that? Yes, no, yes. Okay. All right. So we'll do that. All right.
Do you need a motion?
No, not for that. That's just volunteer acknowledging them. So we're good there. So, okay. So I do for the next item, the Human Trafficking Event Manual that we are doing with Our Lady Queen of Peace Church. I do need a motion for this. So I did send you guys some information. This is the manual that the church wanted to put together. They would like to distribute it to their 74, I think it's parishes and like 4 ministries roughly, and have some additional copies available for other faith-based organizations that might be interested in planning an event around human trafficking. This was something related to large event planning, i.e. the Super Bowl, and engaging the faith-based community. So it is in process. A very, very rough draft that you haven't seen has been designed. I reached out to our graphic designer, Susan Goulash, who's done everything for us for free. This is a larger project, and I felt bad asking her to do such a large project for free. So I inquired as to what the cost might be. She's giving us a discount of $180. So the cost to design a 12-page manual, and it's back and front, so it's actually 6 pages, is $300. So there's that cost. And then to print 100 copies of this is going to be $330. So I needed to find out if those costs were acceptable to you guys for this particular project, and if you all were comfortable moving forward with that, so that we could move that project along, or if anyone had any issues with either of those costs, to let me know, and I can address it.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it, I'm looking at the invoice, it says 10 pages and you said 12. Is it 10 or 12?
It's 12 pages.
12.
Yes. The which invoice are you looking at?
The one, it's an estimate that has the 300 on it, and I don't know if there's a day. Oh, April 27th, maybe.
Yeah, it's actually 12 pages. That was written before the printer came back and said it had to be 12. Susan's willing to do it for 300 no matter how many pages it is, so that's irrelevant.
Just checking the pages. Yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you for your question.
Okay, I'm good with it.
Okay, and you guys will of course see the manual before it gets printed for your approval, as will the church.
Do you need a motion?
I do need a motion for both having the designer do it and the printer do it. I need two separate motions. Yes.
Are we going to do
Someone would like to put
the,
forward a motion for the graphic designer for 300.
I move to accept the.
Can I get a second?
I'll second it, but can we reword it to not to exceed 300? Is that a better wording?
A motion to approve spending no more than $300 on the design of. Is that acceptable?
Yes.
Okay. So that was made by Toby and seconded by Bill. Is that correct? All in favor of?
Aye.
Any objections?
Aye.
Okay. Motion carried with no objections. With regards to the $330 to have it printed, can I get a motion for, or no more than 330? Is that how you'd like it worded? Motion to approve the manual being printed for no more than $330?
And that's to express printing?
Yes, ma'am.
I move to accept that.
I'll second.
Was that Ken who seconded?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
Leona.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carried with no objections. All right, just knocking this right out. Sorry for all the busy work. The next thing was the certificates of appreciation for our volunteers. It's going to cost $21. Big whopping cost there to get those printed. Again, through express printing. I just wanted to get a motion to have that cost approved as well. Does anybody have any objection to that? Is okay, let me reword that. May I have a motion to approve spending no more than $21 to have those printed?
I will motion to approve.
A second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Motion carried with no objections. Thank you. Okay, moving on. The ordinance update. I think somebody. Okay. Toby, do you mind putting yourself on mute? Okay, thank you. So the ordinance, I wanted to let you guys know, I met with Christy Sims, who's the county attorney, in April, and talked to her about the bathhouse ordinance that we're hoping to develop. We had a really great conversation. She is wanting to come to our August meeting to talk to us about how to proceed with that ordinance. She feels that there's already currently some legislation on the books that we could use to accomplish the goals that we want to accomplish with regards to that particular issue. She's not entirely opposed to crafting new legislation. However, she feels that we might be effective in accomplishing our goals with legislation that already exists, that maybe is just not being utilized, or that we are not, I'm trying to word this properly, maybe properly educated about. So she wanted to come and talk to everybody about what that existing legislation is. And maybe there might be some gaps there that we could look at filling or tweaking or what have you. So she and Patrick, whose name I can't remember, last name, I'm so sorry, I can't remember his last name, are going to come to our August meeting and talk to us about this and get you all's expertise, Bill, Allen, and Lieutenant Fields in particular, with regards to what we want to do moving forward. That being said, I just had a thought and it flew right out of my head. There is some work that we can do there. So I just wanted to share that piece with you. So that conversation did have, oh, that's what it was. Sunshine kind of prevented a work group from meeting with her. So this will enable us to have a conversation and not violate Sunshine. So all of you will be able to participate in the conversation with her, ask the questions that you want to ask. We'll get all of that on the record and be able to move forward with that initiative. So I just wanted to give you that update. Does anybody have any questions with regards to the ordinance? Okay, seeing none. I'm going to move on to new business.
Leona, I think that's me echoing. My apologies. Just a quick question. Did she cite the actual legislation that, is it proposed legislation or is it stuff that's in place now?
Currently on the books.
Okay, and did she cite what that is, and then we can maybe research it before that meeting?
I can ask her. It was a lot of legalese that I was kind of over my head, to be perfectly honest with you. So I was kind of drowning a bit, and I was like, okay, I need you to come. You have to go around. So I asked at that point. I was like, okay, I need you to come to the meeting and talk to everybody. But I can ask her prior to the meeting to give us some examples if you'd like.
That would be really helpful too, because some of lots of times it's a lot to digest in that meeting, and it would be good to know if there are already issues with that legislation, so that we can ask her specific questions about it rather than just listening to it, so that we can be a little more interactive.
Absolutely. I'm sorry. I was just writing that down as you were talking to make myself a note to do that. Yes, I will definitely follow up. And Alan was kind enough to, she did request a list of businesses that had table showers. She said that would be very helpful to her in moving forward with some of her research. So Alan did provide me with a list of the businesses that he was aware of that had table showers. I did share those with her. She and Patrick could do some research on their end. So they are working on that. So I did relay that information, and thank you again, Alan, for that. Okay, so I hope I'm not going too fast. Slow me down if I am. You guys know how fast I talk. Moving on to new business, I am going to move on to the price list poster revisions. I did send you guys that. Some very minor changes were made to the price list youth posters. The hashtag was changed on the poster to end human trafficking. The previous hashtag is no longer being used by the youth. Michaela isn't really monitoring any of that. So this hashtag is actually a national hashtag that is being used. So we tied that to this campaign, and we added our social media. So those are the two changes that were made. I just wanted to bring that to your attention and make sure that was okay with you guys. And the second piece to this is the cost for reprinting. For these, prior to the pandemic, these posters were being taken at events. People really liked them, and we were putting them out in the community. Churches wanted them, youth groups wanted them, etc. And typically over the summer, we order some for the schools. Matt, I don't know if you needed any more for this next school year. I don't know where you were with that. And we were also going to do quite a few events through one of the health insurance companies was going to be hosting a series of events the commission was going to be a part of that were canceled due to the pandemic. However, due to large event planning, I thought it might not be a bad idea to have some of these on hand. So I have a request for an order for 100 English and 25 Spanish, and that cost would be $188. So I wanted to talk to you guys about that. So I just wanted to get feedback on any changes and ask you guys about the cost.
Is that the express printing bill for $355 total?
No, you need to look at it's a little bit confusing. That's why I attached it to you in an email. It's this 125, the cost is 188. It's not the total at the bottom. Okay. That was a separate order. So that's why I gave you the email.
Right.
Yeah. I tried to get her to break it out and she sent me an old thing, so she was confused.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Liana, just to echo your sentiments, both posters we had previously were disseminated out in the community and very well received. We didn't have nearly enough that we could have passed out. So without hesitation, I would agree with at least 125.
Thank you. That's great news. I appreciate that feedback. Yeah, they were going really quickly at events. People really like them. And the church was interested in possibly giving some out with the manuals that we're putting together. So we thought that, because a lot of churches also have youth groups, and we thought that maybe if they were interested, we could offer a poster to go with the manual if they were interested. So that was another reason for that as well. So do I have a motion to?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So Matt said that we don't need any more for the school district, but so are we comfortable with having two different posters out then? One with the old hashtag and one with the new, or should we be ordering all new posters to replace the ones at the school because the hashtag and social media components were changed?
Good point.
I will defer to Matt on that.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, if it changed, what is there a reason why we changed it? I'm sorry, maybe I missed that.
We changed it because the old hashtag was Michaela was not doing anything with it. She's not part of the Priceless Youth Movement anymore. It was kind of tied to an account that she was supposed to be monitoring and working with, and she's just completely dropped it. It was a hashtag that those kids came up with, and it was unique to them. So it's not really tied to anything anymore. So if the kids were using it, it's not really going anywhere, whereas this hashtag is tied to a national campaign that's going to link them to resources and information. Whereas Michaela previously was kind of responsible for funneling them to resources and information, and she's not doing that anymore. So I kind of lost her and her involvement with all of that.
Well, I mean, if that's the case, we're going to have to place all the posters within the schools. You know what I mean? Otherwise, what's the point of having them up there, right?
So yeah, the hotline information is still on there. So that piece hasn't changed. So when I'm talking, I don't know if you guys can, the hashtag is in the phone. It's just right here. All of this other information remains the same. The critical piece that we want the kids to have is the National Human Trafficking Hotline. That did not change. The hashtag is not the critical piece of information.
Honestly, I wouldn't spend the money on it, to be quite honest with you, because it's going to be more labor intensive to try to get all those posters back out into all the schools. So I wouldn't spend the money to do it if the hashtag is not the deal breaker.
It's not the hotline is where we want them to go. The hashtag is just something that the kids recommended. It's for me, it's not the deal breaker. If the hotline number was changing, I'd be all over it. So I'm going to defer to you as the person who would be responsible for that.
I wouldn't spend the money on putting the ones in the schools and redoing the ones in the schools just for the hashtag.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Matt on that. I mean, unless we're saying that we're attempting to spend this money because we have to have a spend, I think there's probably other things that we could spend the resources on if the hashtag is not attached to something that's significant and it's not a deal breaker for us.
Yeah, I mean, the hashtag is just gonna, it's gonna drive them to additional information, about human trafficking. But in terms of if they are in need of help, it's the National Human Trafficking Hotline that we want them calling. I mean, that's the critical piece. 911, obviously, which is on there as well.
I'll go ahead and reconfirm what others have said too. And I would also say that if we're ever going to change the hashtag, we might think twice also about tying it to a hashtag that we have no control over as well. So tying it to a national hashtag that we don't know is always going to be there, we may be reprinting again and again each time somebody changes hashtags or goes unmonitored. So unless it's our hashtag, I'm not for reprinting unless it's something that we can control in the future.
Okay. Well, this end human trafficking it's national. This is you can Google this one and it's tied to all kinds of national campaigns. I don't see this one going anywhere anytime soon. So are you guys good with these changes to this poster, or do you feel like this warrants some additional attention?
Yeah, I agree with Bill and Matt. I think we hold tight on that. I don't see and I appreciate what you're saying, Leon. It's a national campaign, and we don't see it going anywhere. I still think that what Bill said is valid. We just don't know.
Okay, so what do you want to do with the poster?
I think the original idea of just printing the new version for new places, I support that, and leaving the current posters in the schools and not replacing them with the new ones. That's what I would suggest.
Perfect. Okay, so are you guys good with us ordering the 100 of English and 25 in Spanish with the changes? Am I understanding that correctly? Okay. Can I have a motion from someone?
A motion.
Thank you, sir. And may I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried with no objections.
Motioned
All
and
right. I beg your pardon?
Who motioned in second?
It sounded like Taiwan and Toby. All right, so our next topic is University of Notre Dame. So I got a call or an email about a week or so ago from a PhD student who is in the sociology department at the University of Notre Dame. This is actually like the third university that's reached out to us. The other two are kind of on hold due to the pandemic, and I'll bring those projects to you as they progress. But this one is actually speeding along. And I sent you all of the information related to this project. She is wanting to do an interview, and it doesn't just have to be me. So anyone who wants to participate in this, you are free to join me. And the study is in front of you. It is related to organizations and governments dealing with problems that people face who participate in the sex industry. The purpose of the study is to speak with people who work with or volunteer in a capacity where they try to address the problem involved in sex work in the sex industry. The interview seeks to understand what issues you and your organization are seeking to address and what strategies you use to address them. Results of this study will be published in future academic work, like journals and such. So that is outlined in the consent for participation in research. There's all the other things outlined in addition to the questions that will be asked. So we were approached and asked. She's going to be interviewing other commissions and task forces around the country as part of her research. So in her research project. So I wanted to bring this to you to ask if you all were interested in having the commission be a part of this. A couple of things to bring to your attention. We may not be specifically referenced as the Pasco County Commission on Human Trafficking to protect confidentiality. So certain things that we might disclose, she may not specifically reference us as an organization. In other cases, like if we were to say that we created the signage ordinance, she would reference us as an organization. So that will be at her discretion. As outlined in the consent, it will say, you know, if she needs to protect our confidentiality or what have you, there is a section about that privacy and confidentiality that she would not reference us as an organization. I did share with her that in instances where she referenced our work specifically or a work product, that I would like us so cited, and she stated that that should not be an issue. So I wanted to bring this to you to ask if you would like for us to participate, and if so, if any other members would be interested in being interviewed, I can get you connected with her.
I just want to, let me point out for the group, because I do think it's important to have some information that the study that's being proposed was reviewed and approved already by the university's IRB. So that's just for your information that will hopefully inform our decision.
Yes, thank you, Ken. She has already been through that process, and it's a very rigorous process for anyone who is familiar with the university process. They do put their students through the internal review board where they have to meet very strict criteria with regard to their research projects in terms of meeting ethical, moral, legal standards for the project. So she has met all of that criteria, and so she's at the status where she can reach out and begin the interview process. So thank you, Ken, for pointing that out.
I just have a quick question. I think it's probably because of the work I do that I would be thinking of this, but since we fall under the county, does the county have any sort of a policy as far as participating in research that we would have to be mindful of? Because I know, like my agency, we just don't participate in any sort of research projects. I don't know if the county has anything like that, or if there's any stipulations to it. But I just want to kind of mention that because I don't know if there is or not.
Danielle, do you happen to know by any chance? I don't think that there is, but do you happen to know?
I'm not aware. I can look into that though to see, but I'm not aware of any right now.
Okay. And I don't, Kelly, based on the data project that Alan, myself, and Stephanie have been working on for the last several years, I don't believe that there is, because we've partnered with the other universities with regards to their IRBs, provided that IRBs are completed, and in our case, like we had to have non-disclosures and an agreement that the county signed because it was our project. It wasn't an issue. So I don't believe so. If it would make you all more comfortable to move forward, if you wanted the motion to be contingent upon me double checking with Elizabeth Blair, I would be more than happy to do that. Thoughts? No? Would you guys like to make a motion contingent upon acceptance by Elizabeth Blair, or would you prefer to, or does anyone strongly opposed? I guess I should start there.
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay, or are you comfortable? Oh, I'm sorry.
Contingent upon Elizabeth Blair approval and her participation. I'm losing voice here, so I'm not sure if you heard me.
Yeah, I would second that motion. Can everybody hear everybody?
Does it need a second? Kelly, did you second?
Okay, so all in favor of moving forward with the project contingent upon Elizabeth Blair's approval? Any opposed?
Yes.
Okay, motion carried with no objections. I will send an email just notifying you of her approval or not. Is anyone interested in being interviewed with me? Okie doke. All right. So I will go ahead. If she says yes, I will go ahead and move forward with that. Thank you guys.
You should make Lieutenant Fields as initiation be a part. That's my recommendation.
All right. What's next here? All right, Stephanie, you wanna do Dr. Olmsted since I've been yapping at them for the. Are you shaking your head no at me?
No, because I think you have more information on that than I do. Sorry.
Okay, wow, so much information, you guys. Okay, so Dr. Olmsted, I sent you guys a really long email from her, and I know you all read it because it was just so much. So earlier this spring, Stephanie and I were introduced to Dr. Phyllis Olmsted. She is with the Rotary Club of Florida in Apopka, Florida. She was introduced by Jennifer Paul Ray, who is the anti-trafficking coordinator with the Florida Department of Health, who Stephanie mentioned earlier in the conversation about the Safe Place campaign. Dr. Olmsted has been very active in developing an anti-trafficking campaign in her local community. It's called the HT Signal for Safety campaign. And she partnered with the Rotary, the Lifeboat Project, and the Air Marshal National Council to develop this campaign. And you guys have those materials. I sent them to you in an email. And what it is it's a way for potential victims or victims of human trafficking to know they're in trouble. You have that. I have this, if you can see it. It's kind of like a hand signal that people can show that they are in trouble. So it's a whole campaign that she has launched across the state. It's received national attention, and she is interested in partnering with us to allow us to use her campaign materials. We can put our logo on it as part of our large event campaign. So this would be something, if we had an interest in folding it into the work that we're already doing for the Super Bowl and getting this out into the community, that we could use with her blessing and her permission. So I wanted to bring this to you. It's already developed. We don't have to do anything other than, I guess, add our logo and get it printed or developed. She has different size cards. You can get them. This is a smaller kind of like index size card. There's bigger plaques and things. So we could really pretty much do it any size that we wanted. The only thing we could not do would be to change the actual material itself. That is her property, I guess, or we don't own that. They do. So that's something we would not be able to change. So this kind of fell into our laps. And so Stephanie and I wanted to bring it to you all as a group. Again, kind of what I'm trying to do here is, since we lost so much time, as these opportunities come, is for the large event campaign, is to bring this stuff to you guys. It's already work that's been done that we can either use or not. So I wanted to put it up for discussion.
Hey,
If you hate it, that's fine. That's fine.
well, given that we have lost some time, and I know that some of the emails that have gone back and forth in conversations about how much of a deadline we're on with the anticipated Super Bowl, does utilizing other resources really help to bridge the time that we've lost because of the coronavirus issues and not having been able to meet the past few months?
And Dr. Olmsted is willing to participate in a meeting. If you guys had questions about her materials, I can invite her to participate. By, like, if we were to meet in person in July, she's in Alaska, so she'd probably have to participate by phone, but she is willing to answer any questions that you guys have. So I did want to throw that out there. This would just be another resource. It would be up to us how much we used of her materials, and where we put them, and so on and so forth. So it's really at our discretion. There is no charge for us to use her.
I have a question just about the campaign and recognition of this in general. And I know we've got Lieutenant Fields new to the group, and Alan's a longtime veteran in law enforcement. Are these signals being recognized by law enforcement and other people in the community? And does this have traction? I guess having somebody start a campaign is wonderful. I just don't know if we're getting behind something that anyone is recognizing yet, being that there is no real national standard for these things in anti-human trafficking efforts.
Okay, yeah, I'll speak up first. I think that's a great point. I had the same thought. I hadn't seen those hand signals before. That doesn't mean there's not some awareness. I'm just not aware of it. My teams don't talk about that in major crimes or with the victim advocates. So it hasn't taken off yet.
I'll follow up with that. There is no national standard when it comes to hand signals for help. And it's interesting that that's coming across now, because we also have some other groups that are trying to develop something very similar, hand signals, writing, symbols. So there's a lot of that that's being talked about and discussed, but nobody has went behind a national standard yet when it comes to flagging somebody down with a help signal. But there is a lot of chatter about that. There just is no accepted standard at this point.
It would also have to depend on what the hand signals are. I mean, that's obviously a well-known way that gang members communicate, and that could easily be misinterpreted by an uninformed officer. or anybody really. So,
example, just because it was the only example that I had, to all of the organizations that asked. I said, this is how we've done things in the past. And I said, in light of the fact that we are not currently meeting and I can't bring this to them, this is how I anticipate that they would want to move forward in the future. So I just wanted to bring this issue to your all's attention because I feel like we are going to be asked in the future for such letters. And again, I don't know that we need to hammer this out today, just in light of all the other work that we need to do. But I did want to, we are going to be asked for a letter of support from some ladies in Pinellas County who are looking to set up a commission in Pinellas County. I've already spoken to them about setting up a commission, given them some advice, if you will. And they said, well, will you give us a letter of support? And I said, well, that's not something I can unilaterally decide. And I don't know either of these women. They were referred by the Free Network, and I explained this exact process to them. They would be willing to come to a meeting and introduce themselves to you all and explain what they're trying to do. So I just wanted to make you guys aware that these requests are coming in, and have a conversation about how we want to handle these requests moving forward. Obviously, I'm going to get a request in between meetings, and the turnaround time is going to be like that. So my level of comfort with this is to have a process that is on the books so that I have an answer that I can give that is uniform, regardless of who approaches us. Because I don't want to be, again, I'm not going to say yes to this organization and no to that organization on my own. So thoughts?
I think it's great to have a standard operating procedure, something that we can lean on consistently. And I like the fact that you were able to speak to what we did with United Way. I think that's sound. I think that if someone's interested in us supporting them, they should be willing to come before the committee, explain what it is that they're doing so that we can vote on it.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this up for a few additional discussion at a future meeting, just so we can hammer this out a little bit more, because I do think we need to have something kind of hammered out with a little bit more detail, just in light of all the other work that we need to get done in the next 45 minutes or so. But again, I just wanted to bring that to your attention, so please think through that a little bit more for future discussion. Last thing real quick is we need an Instagram volunteer. So if anyone knows anybody that we can trust with social media, our Instagram volunteer has stepped down. She is not able to do that anymore. So if you have someone in your world that you trust that could be relied upon to post appropriately to our social media, if you could refer that person to me, I would be very appreciative, because right now our Instagram account is sitting idle with nobody posting to it. And she's worked really hard over the last year. I think we have like 100 followers on Instagram, and she's very proud of that. And we kind of wanted to keep that momentum going. So if you know of somebody, if you could get them connected with me, that would be great. So that being said, Stephanie, I'm going to turn it over to you. We're going to spend the rest of the meeting doing our large event planning and getting caught up with all of that. So Stephanie, if you wouldn't mind with the campaign materials, sharing, talking to everybody about those. I did send them out to the group, the final design.
Yep, I am opening up the email with them because I had the other email open. So let me get them pulled up real quick. So here we go. All right. So we have large event / Super Bowl campaign. What was decided upon, it feels like ages ago, was that we were going to do a business card sized piece of material and have a front and back printed on it that we could leave at places that were identified by Alan and law enforcement as priority 1 places to start, gas stations, hotels, convenience stores, things like that. And so Liana sent them out. One side says Pasco doesn't buy it, human trafficking is a crime, just a couple of key facts there, know the signs, report suspicions. And then on the back, there's it broken out into a few bullet points of what community members could look for to identify potentially trafficking and what they can do. So I think that's looking really good. And then the second piece of materials is a coaster. And again, we have a front and back. This one will be placed obviously at places with bar tops or restaurants or things like that. And Susan did a great job. Same content. So the content is the same for the business card and the coaster. So I guess we are at the stage of getting these either amended or approved, and then working with the second team, which was the I can't remember who's on it, but the team responsible for getting volunteers. And so I think that we need to start discussions about how many volunteers are we going to have that will be able, once all this coronavirus stuff hopefully settles down, volunteers that are able to go out into the community and drop materials off. And once we have a good idea of how many volunteers we think we can get and how much time we think we can get out of them, then I think we decide how many to print so that we don't have tons and tons extra. Those are just my thoughts. So my thought would be to look at the materials and see if we have any edit requests or changes and what you guys think of them.
So a couple quick things I just wanted to throw out to you guys about the whole large framework of all of this. So first things first, we have over $7,000. Well, actually, I'm going to say 7,000 because you guys approved some monies to be spent today that have to be spent down by September 30th. So there's that to consider. The second thing to consider is the pandemic and what's going on with that. Our initial game plan was to distribute these materials into places of where I'm so exhausted I can hardly think. So bars and restaurants and places where we anticipated that there would be a lot of traffic, where we wanted to get the messaging out in certain areas that Alan had mapped out for us. High value target areas. Alan, forgive me if that language is not entirely correct. And we were going to rely heavily on volunteers to distribute and bring these items to these businesses. Hopefully that they would be receptive to these materials. This would be one aspect of the campaign as a way of educating the community. So that is contingent on a lot of human contact. It's also contingent on businesses being open. It's also contingent on people going to these places. It's contingent on a lot of human interaction. So I just wanted to throw that out to people in the context of the pandemic and what we don't know what our world is going to look like in the fall. And I've spoken to Alan a little bit about this behind the scenes. And do we want to consider, and I'm not in no way, shape, or form saying we're not going to do this. I just want to visit the idea. Do we want to add a digital component to this campaign? Because I think it's something that we need to consider in light of the fact that we have a lot of money that we need to spend in a very short period of time. There is no guarantee that we will have our funding allotted to us in the full amount of $10,000 on October 1st. It is in Danielle's Human Services budget. It is not something that we have to go back to the county and ask for. It is a line item in her budget. However, it is not guaranteed that we will be given that full $10,000. Knock on wood, hopefully we will, but let's just play devil's advocate and maybe we won't. So those are some things that I just want you guys to kind of think through as we have this conversation. So I'm going to shut up now. And Alan, I know you had some thoughts about all of this that you were going to share as well. You're on mute, Alan.
Okay, there we go. So let me just kind of talk about it kind of in a larger framework. What Stephanie is talking about is actually getting the material together, which I think the material is exceptional. I think it's great material, great information, and Stephanie took ideas that we all had and put it together in such a remarkable fashion. So thank you, Stephanie, first of all, for that. I think the second part is what she mentioned, and this is where our time constraints, I think, are getting really challenging. And that is, how do we take the material that we've looked at and how do we now get it into that business community? And secondly, I think that the businesses that we're looking at are not going to be comfortable with just passing out information on our behalf. I think there's going to have to be a script. There's going to have to be for lack of a better term, a short training for those businesses. So we've talked with the Florida Sports Coast, the tourism arm of the county, and they have actually reached on our behalf. They've reached out to the chambers of commerce, and the chambers of commerce are willing to kind of stand up on our behalf and be that liaison into the business community and get that in. And the reception has been extraordinarily well. The problem with it is that the chambers are not meeting right now. We're fighting kind of that piece. So I think that's one challenge, is how do we not just get the material to them, but I think one of the larger challenges is strategically and pointedly identifying who the most likely businesses are that would come in contact with a potential trafficker or victim. So here's what I've been doing kind of in this dead space of time is I have some friends who run a technology company. And when I say a technology company, I'm not talking about like a where they create web pages, but these are kind of the spooky people whose analysts are NSA. So these are NSA people. So they're really deep level analysts. And in conversation with them, they have put together a little prototype, and they did it very quickly where I don't even understand what they did, is to be able to take what I gave them was legends. So I said, here are the high traffic corridors coming through Pasco. Here are the east-west corridors that bring those intersections to those high volume travel corridors, I-75, 301, 41, Suncoast, US 19, looking at those north-south, which we know are going to be transit points for the Super Bowl, and then looking at east-west corridors and those intersections, putting a half-mile radius around them, and then asking what are the high visit vulnerable places within that half-mile radius on that high volume traffic corridor. So they looked at things like, and we use it in priority 1, priority 2, priority 3. Priority 1's being convenience stores that are 24-hour, restaurants that are 24-hour, big box retail like Walmart's and Target, looking at drug stores like CVS and Walgreens, using those as tier 1s. They have been able to take a mapping system, and they're able to map those businesses that we've identified by legend, put it onto a high visible Google map, and they're able to bring that to us and say, here are your high traffic corridors and your high vulnerability places, and give us a strategic way to target those businesses within those cones. So, my thought was that we use that as a strategy for planning. And then even during the operational phase, they said they're able to provide those maps to give it to law enforcement, to give it to code enforcement. They can overlay that map on top of their GIS, and it gives the deputies and the code enforcement the ability to know what those high risk, vulnerable places are as well, so they can do an enforcement piece while we're doing our training piece prior to the Super Bowl or any large scale event. So those are some ways I think that we can use to really get the message where it can do the most good, and then push out that trafficking effort into riskier behaviors. Just my thoughts.
Alan, is that something that they've already created, or they are creating it? Is this a free service they're willing to provide? Could you kind of illuminate?
So they are doing it free. Probably because, well, they say they like me. I don't know if that's true or not, but they're doing it free. They're dedicating their time. But in all transparency for them, is they also are looking, if this is something that has value to us and it shows value through the Super Bowl, then I think they would like to take that model that they've done and be able to replicate that throughout the nation, maybe where the next Super Bowl is coming, and show the value of this particular system. So they're getting a benefit out of it, but they're willing to provide it to us for free and do it as free labor. And I think there's some work that needs to be done. In other words, do they need a letter from the commission? Does that letter not just looking at the business, but also creating relationships? So in other words, finding RV parks, marinas, and a marina that may have a high traffic vulnerability, like a 7-Eleven or a convenience store, if they're within like walking distance of that marina, they're able to identify that as a hyper hotspot. Looking at strip clubs and what convenience stores and less than 3-star hotels are in that area, and kind of creating that, putting a net over that as well. So they're able to do a lot of analysis that I think would be very beneficial to us as a commission, but they're looking for kind of a way to formalize that relationship.
Alan, if you can get something in writing from them, a summary of this project that you are describing and what they can do, like a formal written something from them, what I will do is I will ask Danielle to submit an RLS request to have Elizabeth review it, and to ask her if a formal agreement would be required with the commission, because that would be a request that would have to be made formally of Elizabeth, and that can be a process time. So if we are looking at an August deadline, that's something that I would need to start immediately. So if that's something that you can ask from them, that you could get to me pretty quickly, I will get that to Danielle with a formal request for Elizabeth, and then I can, as a goal, I could try and ask her for a response by our July meeting. I don't know if she'll be able to do it, but we could aim for that as a goal.
Hey, Alan, are they, do you know exactly what they're seeking, that they want an actual agreement? Is it something that they can later commercialize or monetize to go to other communities and point to say that they've worked with a community? Is that their main goal of wanting an agreement?
Absolutely. They want to use us as a template to be able to market it to other communities. Absolutely.
So I want to go back just for a second on the print materials again, because obviously, you know, I'm kind of money conscious as well, and we do have a lot of money to spend down, and I'm looking at them, and though I know our intention was to distribute them for the Super Bowl, I know there's still COVID stuff going on, but they seem, from what I'm looking at, they seem pretty general, and if we can't use them for the Super Bowl, they look as though we could use them for other things, if I'm not mistaken, of the ones that I'm looking at. So I would feel comfortable having these materials for the Super Bowl, or albeit whatever else might come up, because what I'm looking at, it looks really, really general and really great information. It's not saying, hey, Super Bowl material. So just kind of going back to that stuff, because we do, with all the things that we have already talked about today, that still leaves us with like $6,728 to spend. And that's a lot of money. So I would have no issue moving forward with these materials so that we do have them, because they will inevitably become helpful at some point in time for us.
So Kelly, I would reinforce your position, because I think this is not just an event specific campaign, although obviously this event does draw that activity. But keeping in mind that our tourism partners have asked us specifically to try not to make it an event specific campaign, and to make people believe that this is something that is a normal year-round effort, I think it's very important for us to have material that we can use year-round and have it on hand, and make it a true campaign. So I agree with what you just said.
So Liana, did you have a price on what they look like as far as how many and what the prices? It may be in one of the other emails. I just didn't see it.
No, because they needed to be approved first, and we had no idea how many would be distributed and what other things you guys wanted to spend the money on. And the other thing, just from a practical standpoint, depending on how many are ordered, we need a place to store them. So if you're talking about ordering however many, units, we have to have a place to keep them. I don't have any more room in my office, for example, so we would need to, if you're talking about 100,000, let's just say, for, $4,000 or what have you, we need to have a plan to store them for however long. So that's something to consider as well. So no, I don't have a price quote. That I didn't know how many units we were even considering. If you guys have an idea of what you're potentially looking at, I can certainly get a price quote for you, or several. I can do increments, 10,000, 25,000, 100,000, whatever we're potentially looking at. And then, if there's another, like I said, if you wanted to consider a digital component, that's something to explore as well. So I wanted to have those conversations with you, just because it is a lot of work to track down all this information on my end. But I'm happy to do whatever the group would like me to do.
So are you just needing us to approve these proofs and then move forward from there, or have they been approved and we're ready to go?
We need a motion to approve the materials that are in front of you would be the first step. So if someone would like to make a motion, if there's any issues with either the coaster or the business card, definitely let Stephanie know. If not, then we can entertain a motion to approve them as they are currently designed.
So I like them, and I'm willing to make a motion to approve as they are.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carried with no objections. Okay. With regards to next steps, what are you all's thoughts? I mean, if you want price quotes, I'm happy to get them. I just need some idea of units, because otherwise I'm just kind of shooting blind out there. And we are talking about $6,000. So I need some ballpark ideas of what you all would like me to ask for, or what you think is reasonable, because I don't have any parameters.
Since it is a really big amount of money that we're talking about here, and deciding on how much of this and how much of that, can we look at some other pieces of this, like delivery and things like that? Are we going to need any money, for example, to distribute these and back those costs out of that bigger number? Because I think, if there's uncertainty of our budget after October 1, do we want to make plans now and perhaps employ any of those services for distribution, or plans for distribution and things like that, to get it out? I'd hate to order a whole bunch of stuff and then have no means to get it out.
When you say distribution, what do you mean?
Delivering these items, because
if you're volunteers.
Yeah, because depending on what you get, if you end up with thousands and thousands and thousands of coasters, we're not talking necessarily about pickup trucks and people anymore. They might need to be drop shipped directly to their locations too. Pile these somewhere. Do we need storage? There's some other. There's a big order of stuff that's paper and could be bulky. So I don't know if there's been any consideration of that part of it as well. Might determine, the reason I ask is it might determine what types of things we order if we've got limitations on storage and delivery and stuff.
Yeah, and I don't even know if the existing vendor can handle this order. I mean, we've used express printing, so depending on what the scope of the order is, I don't even know if this is something that they can handle. We may have to look at an additional vendor. So that is some research that would have to be done as well. What the scope of what they would be able to handle, and I would have to ask those questions or find another vendor that might be able to handle it.
Liana?
Yes, ma'am.
I think that I'm real familiar, as you know, with express printing, and they probably can handle it. My question is, are we talking just about coasters? Are we talking about multiple different items? I mean, I have storage facilities, so we're not concerned about that too much, but depending, again, and I would ask if you wanted me to use that in case we had to do it. But what are the items that we're talking about in addition to maybe coasters? Do you know?
Well, you guys have just approved coasters and business cards. Those are the two items that the members just approved. So yes, ma'am, as of this time, that's all you guys.
Okay. Well, something like that, I don't think would be, not on my part anyway, would be an issue to help facilitate that part of it. So as far as helping to keep it until it got distributed. And also, do we need to know, like somebody brought up here, who is going to distribute? I don't know if drop shipping them to the locations is quite practical, but
well, initially we had talked about identifying volunteers. That was what I had referenced earlier in the conversation. The idea had been that we have a volunteer management committee that's Bill, Ty, and Matt, who would be identifying volunteers that would be willing to take the materials to the identified locations and drop them off. But that would require, we need to have a relationship with those businesses. Those businesses need to have indicated how many they want, when they want them dropped off, how many they need, what is the dialogue with that business, when are the volunteers available? That all has to be coordinated. Are people comfortable during the pandemic doing that sort of thing? They have to go pick it up from the storage facility. It has to be dropped off. When that's a lot of work and coordination that needs to take place. That was the initial plan. So, at the beginning of the conversation, when I referenced the impact of the pandemic, are volunteers still wanting to do that? I don't know, what business, I don't know the answers to those questions. So as Bill referenced the dropping off, the direct, that would impact when these items are ordered, so if we need to order them before September 30th. So would the business be ready to receive them now for an event that's not happening until February? Are they willing to store them until then? I mean, we don't have relationships built with them yet. Those are all things that we need to kind of think through and work on, so.
Okay, I think getting prices for different increments initially would be good. And
does anyone have suggestions for me on that? So I'm not.
I was going to suggest, since we've had that initial meeting with tourism, with the DMO, with Florida Sports Coast, that they survey their members in the hospitality area of how many they'd be willing to take on and distribute, and actually start to get that commitment from them now and get an idea of what they could utilize, especially on the coasters. Because I have no idea, and I ran a bar once, and I have no idea how many coasters these establishments go through, and what's a reasonable amount of coasters to give them for a several month period, perhaps, or at least a month leading up. But if we ask them, we can use that as the opportunity to go ahead and ask them for a commitment too, of which establishments are willing to take them and how many they need. And we can base our order at least on the coasters of that. The business cards, I know those can be printed on a fly too, very quickly. So we can always add more business cards if we need them. And we can stockpile those pretty easy. I think it's the coasters that we don't have a good grasp on how many they'd use and how many would take them. So maybe we rely on our partners to give us advice and ask them to go ahead and make commitments.
Who would we be asking, Bill? What organization do we ask for that?
It would be the county's tourism development. It'd be Adam Thomas, who's already been briefed on this program and has indicated they will partner with us. So it's the Tourist Development Council, the direct marketing organization for Pasco County.
that's the one that I sat on for 12 years.
That's and Toby is of course our tourism liaison. I'm sorry, Toby.
No, that's okay.
So would either you or Toby be able to take the lead and reaching out to ask those questions or facilitate that conversation and be able to get back to me with some answers, just so I have some parameters of quotes to ask for? Could I implore one of you to do that?
I'm happy to, but Toby's our liaison, so I'll let her liaise.
Okay, that's fine. That's good. I didn't want to catch you out of something you might want to do.
Toby, when do you think you might be able to get back to me on that? Just so I would know, because what I have to do, the process would be you would have the conversation, you would get back to me, I have to get some quotes, I have to bring them back to the group has to approve them, the order has to be placed, and all of that has to happen by September 30th. So what timeline do you recommend?
Okay, let me just take a peek. Hold on just a second. I'm looking at maybe I'd catch up with you tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow afternoon. Are you available to at least chat? Or Friday?
Sure, I can talk to you tomorrow afternoon. That's fine. Absolutely.
Okay, I have a busy morning until about 1 o'clock. It starts at 9:30, 1 o'clock. So anytime after that, or you want to specify a specific time?
I will give you a call tomorrow afternoon around 2 o'clock.
Okay, I'll put you down. Okay, that's good.
So is this group wanting, if I'm just trying to get an idea, guys, and I apologize if I'm coming across as pushy, and you can call me out on it if I am, but I just, really want to make sure we're getting our money spent down to the penny. Are you guys wanting to spend the full amount, $6,000 or whatever it is, only on campaign materials? Kelly's saying no. So,
I think your idea is on like digital stuff. Like, did you have something in your head?
So, okay, if you want to spend on digital stuff, here's how that would look. I'll give you a quick rundown. We have done digital campaigns with Intravision and CW in the past. In light of our very short time frame, what we would have to do is revisit one of those existing campaigns. Basically, we would not reinvent the wheel. We would run already what's been developed, and it would be the exact same contract. We would change the dates, shorten the time frame. It'd be a matter of using same contract language that has already been approved by the county. And Danielle, and you're on the call, and I would work our magic and try and make it happen in a manner where it is approved. If it's less than $5,000, we don't need Board of County Commissioners approval. So we could do something for $2,000, and it could be run for 2 weeks. It could be on a digital platform only. It could be TV and digital. We can work that any way you all as members see fit. We would not be creating any new materials. So it's already everything that you all have already approved. So PSAs you've already approved, digital banners you've already approved. It would just be put back out there and paid for. So that is an option. I would like, and Alan and I have talked about this a little bit. One thing about the Super Bowl is this. We cannot just do things in January and February. We need to be consistently educating the public about this problem every single month leading up to that. So it's okay if we do something like we did with the parent campaign in September. So let's say, and I'm making all of this up, just if we pay to redo our parent campaign as back to school, let's say, and we run a 2-week campaign that we ran last year, and we pay $1,500 for it, let's say, to kick off the school year and just remind parents of the dangers of social media like we did last year. That's a great thing to do in September. And we use our money that way. And we're rolling other things out, and we're doing something each month. I think that that's absolutely critical, because what's going to happen is in January in particular, there's going to be all of this messaging about the Super Bowl and human trafficking, and we could get potentially drowned out because there's going to be so much coming at people at that time that we stand the potential of just kind of getting overlooked and overshadowed. So really our chance to make an impact is before all of that hits. So I was on a webinar and a discussion about Super Bowl messaging and campaigning, and that was one of the things that they said, that they had their most impact prior to the holidays. Is that when they were really making an impact with the public, was prior to people getting wrapped up with Christmas, and then prior to all of the hard-hitting campaigning that was happening. Not to say that we can't, and I'm not saying that at all, that we're not doing things in January and February. Of course we are, but we need to be putting messaging out leading up to that point. So I just wanted to
I have 2 thoughts, and because digital means a lot of different things, and now that we've in a virtual world and we've got so many more hybrid meetings and virtual meetings like the one we're in right now, We haven't been active in the Speakers Bureau campaign for a while, and I think there's an easy way to do plug and plays through virtual learning, to have people sign up to do virtual training seminars like we did historically. Would be one effort that we could do to promote not just awareness as a whole, but in particular this campaign. And the second thought is you can also have someone create content around the Pasco Doesn't Buy It campaign, and instead of using CW or a professional broadcaster to disseminate it, we use social media tools to get it out throughout the year. And maybe a good video, working with somebody like Diamond View or somebody like that, that would give us a video that we could disseminate about the campaign. We all could help disseminate it, and we could ask people to play it as an in-kind rather than being limited to just CW or one of the broadcast agencies. And then we could have content that's created around this campaign instead of using the old content.
Is that something we can do in 2 months?
The creation of, if you pay enough money, you can have anything done in 2 months. It would mean bringing in one of those videographers and asking them, and you'd have to determine how long you want it, and if you're paying for still footage and actors and things like that, or if we're using canned information that that they can just go ahead and put bells and whistles on.
Is anybody on the team willing to take that on and head it up? I think it's a great idea. I just can't take it on right now.
I can call, I know Diamond View pretty well. Tim Moore from Diamond View, he and all of his company are from Pasco originally, and they have a heart for this. I think getting a quote from them depends on what we're looking at from a budget. Most of these things are pretty expensive depending on what we're trying to accomplish, but if it's something we can use for a year long, might be worth it. So I don't know what you all are comfortable spending on something like this, and whether it's worth making the ask.
So from a digital perspective, what amount would you guys feel comfortable allocating of the roughly, I'm just going to go with 6,000 that we approximately would have to spend, allocating regardless of what the digital campaign would look like? Would you guys be comfortable allocating that Bill could kind of explore and I could look into with our existing partners? Would anybody feel comfortable throwing out a number to give, and then we could revisit this? We're cutting it so close. I mean, July, I'm just going to be straight up honest. You would have to make a decision, and I will tell you, I cannot make you a guarantee, especially Bill, if it's a new vendor. A vendor has to be set up with the county. I mean, the turnaround time, Danielle, please don't have a heart attack on me. I know I'm making promises you might not be able to keep. Don't kill me. I mean, the turnaround time is going to be cutting it really close. So I just want to get an idea of money that you guys want to see.
Here's an idea. If you all, oops, I'm echoing again. If you all said you'd spend like, maybe a motion be made that if somebody's willing to do it for 3,000, that we give Liana the ability to negotiate with them directly once we get that. But if no one is, then we go to Plan B, and you guys go ahead and agree to what Plan B is, so that you don't lose time and we don't have to wait for another meeting to come forward. Because I think it is going to be expensive. I don't know if they can do it for the money that we're looking at, unless it's somebody like the county. I mean, we could ask Pasco TV if they want to do something like that for us.
So Pasco TV will put up any content that we create at no charge. It's just a matter of asking them to do it. They've actually been running our stuff for quite some time. So that's not an issue. They have, our PSAs have been up. And I can send Tambry pretty much anything. So that's not an issue. And it's actually been on the to-do list for the Super Bowl. I see amounts of 2,000 and 3,000. I feel like I'm an auctioneer. So that,
I meant for the creation for the creative piece.
For your piece that you're talking about?
Yeah, so the creative piece is the money. The distribution part's easy. That's just putting it up there. So the creative piece is the expensive part.
So for clarification, Bill, you would like an amount to know what to approach your potential partner to ask? I'm sorry. Rephrase your ask. What are you asking?
Yeah, if what do we have to work with in terms of budget? And I can contact a couple of the videographers that create content and see if there's even a willingness to create content for that dollar amount. If not, then let's have a plan B in mind of how to spend it so we don't have to come back and wait for another month to decide how to spend that money.
Okay, so if it looks like 2,000 to 3,000. Is that? I'm sorry, guys. I'm struggling to read comments, type notes, and talk to Bill at the same time. So are you saying, Stephanie, what was your comment? I couldn't read it before it disappeared. What did you say?
Yeah, so there's a little chat feature where you can see all of them up there the whole time if you want.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I was just letting you know. So it looks like there's a growing consensus around $2,000 to $3,000, and that a digital campaign addition does make sense. My recommendation is that we have a combination of printed materials that we've already just approved and a digital campaign, probably up to about $3,000 for the digital portion that, like Bill was saying, can be created and then used year round on different platforms like social media, Pasco TV, or I mean, even if we want to run it on TV or radio or whatever in the future, but that it would be usable year round so that we can use it for large events or for any other purpose in the future. So that's what we so far.
So for clarification, could I ask the question?
Yes, of course, please.
Out of the $6,000, that would be allocating $3,000 of it for digital and up to $3,000 for printed for the coasters and the business cards. Is that correct? So when you get pricing for the printed material in increments, of course, nobody really knows what it's going to cost. But is that like a division for both of them then? Just take the 6 and divide it?
That is my understanding. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So my understanding, motion to approve up to $3,000 for a digital campaign to be used year round. Bill will pursue a new vendor, and as a backup plan, Liana will inquire about a contract with existing vendors. Is that correct?
Yes. Do you need a motion?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll make the motion.
Seconded by? Can I have a second?
Matt did.
Oh, I'm sorry, Matt. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay, so for July, our goal will be to have a decision with regards to what direction we're going to go with that. So Bill will have a proposal, I will have proposals, and we will be able to rock and roll, and you guys can pick a direction. That sound like a good plan with regards to the digital component. I will also bring back quotes in increments for you guys to decide with regards to the printed materials, and you guys can determine which direction you would like to go with the printed materials in July. I will also bring back to you information regarding an agreement with the organization that Alan referenced, and get that input from Elizabeth, and then you guys can determine if you'd like to move forward with that. And we can get that approved in July, so we can get this around by August deadline that Alan referenced. Does that sound good with everyone in terms of our event planning moving forward? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
My brain hurts. Oh, I hope we don't ever have to do another virtual meeting, because I cannot tell you how hard it is to manage WebEx, take notes, and run this meeting and listen to you guys and read comments all at the same time. It is more challenging than I can possibly articulate. So thank you guys for your patience with all of my craziness today. So hopefully we will be able to meet. I just, while I have you all, I know that it's based on if the county is open. Does anybody object currently to meeting in person? Does anybody feel strongly that that's not, I don't want to put anybody on the spot. Would you all be open to that if the county is moving in that direction?
I'm good with it.
Okay, I just, if anybody is not comfortable with it, please feel reach out to me personally. If you're not comfortable sharing that publicly, I completely understand. Just reach out to me personally. If I get a lot of personal feedback that that's not something we're comfortable with. Last thing I need to make you guys aware of, and we just need to, the meeting to set it up virtually costs $212 to have this meeting today, because it is required that we advertise it publicly for 10 days. So if we should need to have another meeting publicly, I just wanted to have a motion on the books that it is okay for me to spend funds to set up virtual meetings and spend the money in that manner. Are you guys good with that, me doing that from a business perspective?
Could we not use another platform and still promote it for 10 days and that be okay?
Are you asking for a different platform other than WebEx, or are you asking not to advertise it for 10 days?
No, another platform other than WebEx.
This is the county designated platform. So according to how the county, we have to use this platform and we have to advertise it for 10 days in the Tampa Bay Times. So
understood.
Unfortunately. Can I get a motion from someone just to make it formal to approve the chair to spend funds to set up a virtual meeting if needed?
Ron Oakley move.
Thank you, Commissioner. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Kelly. Just to cover me, just for the future. I know we've talked about with regards to financial planning, so we'll move on from that topic. Stephanie, did you have any updates from the trafficking-free zone?
No, but don't we need to vote on that?
Oh, I'm so sorry. All in favor of allowing the chair to spend funds on the virtual meeting? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carried with no objections. Thank you, Stephanie, for that correction. Stephanie, did you have an update on the trafficking-free zone?
Nope, we're good.
Okay. My only comments are that the Human Trafficking Summit, you guys are aware, is on October. It is free. It is virtual if you're interested. And I did want to share, I had sent this email out. Last year, Stephanie and I did a training for the PCPP public transportation. And we trained all the bus drivers in Pasco. And I don't know if you saw that email. One of their bus drivers essentially rescued a little boy. He was on the side of the road and a car pulled up. And she's like, something looks weird here. And she kind of raced to the rescue and prevented this child from getting into this car with these strangers. And she, when interviewed, said that her human trafficking training that she received was the reason that she acted the way that she did. And that what Stephanie and I had said to her during that training triggered her to, she's like, if it didn't look right, you need to, if you see something, say something. And she's receiving an award from the county for her actions. So shout out to all of you guys for, I just want you to know, because a lot of times the work that we do at this level, you don't ever know that it has an impact anywhere. And when I read that email, I cried. I was like, it's making a difference. So I just wanted to pass that along to you guys and thank you guys for all of the work that you do. So I hope that you read that email. It was an attachment in the meeting reminder that I sent out. So just wanted to go around and ask if anyone else had anything that they wanted to share with the group.
Can I ask you a question? Did we kind of skip over the donations part of the work groups?
We did. Did you have anything to add to that? So we can come back to it, but did you have anything to add to it?
Well, just a little. Kelly and I have been chatting, and both of us kind of need a little clarification as to the type of donations, and is it cash donations that we're talking about, and how much are we looking for? I know we touched on a lot of the the budget that we have, funds left over. But is this what we're talking about as far as going to different locations of businesses and asking them for cash donations? And go ahead.
I'm sorry, I apologize. So when we initially conceived of this, that was going to be something. So for example, if there was somebody who wanted to sponsor payment, so for example, they wanted to sponsor the printing of X number of business cards, they might want to make a donation to the commission because we have limited funding, obviously. And if our funding is cut and we don't receive the full amount next fiscal year, we're going to need some help to achieve our goals. Or maybe they want to sponsor a PSA, or maybe they want to sponsor a billboard, or what have you. We need to put together some asks. So maybe we have an ask and we want to say, we would like to put a billboard with this message on it on 19 at this location. We need a sponsor for that. Would you be willing to donate X number of dollars to the commission to make that happen?
Okay, and that wouldn't directly go to the commission because that would go directly to whatever they're sponsoring. Because don't we have to report all the cash or give the cash through the county commissioners?
So ideally, the best case scenario would be to have that individual sponsor, who, whether it's a business or an individual, make a direct payment versus the money landing in our account. My personal preference would be to have the sponsor pay the vendor directly so that the money never touches us.
Okay.
That gets really complicated with the county when that happens.
Yeah, and I still have $149 sitting in there in cash. So
right.
Yeah,
and that's a big undertaking. Yeah, to do all of that donation and fundraising work. So that's a lot of conversation that we need to have, and it's really dependent on what our goals are, what our projects are, how much money we have, and what we want to accomplish.
Kelly, did you want to ask her anything that we talked about, or are you okay with what her answers are? Okay, you're good.
Just quick question: Are we able to solicit funds or just accept funds? Because in Florida, we have to have that ag exemption the ag certificate as well to solicit funds. We can receive them, but if we solicit, we need another documentation, another license. And I don't know that we did that. I think we just did the receiving of funds. Does anyone know?
No, the money that I received was a volunteer thing that the person just wanted to give us something and use it however we wanted to. It wasn't a solicited.
Right.
So if we're looking for sponsors, you're correct. I think that would be soliciting for a sponsor. Yeah.
So what I can do is I can add that to my list of questions for Elizabeth. When I submit my RLS request, I will add that to the list.
Good deal. I just want to keep us out of trouble.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing it up, Bill. Okay. All right. So roundtable, I guess, did I miss anybody? Did anyone else have any questions? Does anybody have any future agenda items? I just wanted to make this more formal because I'm always the one that sets the agenda, and that really shouldn't be the case. So if anyone has anything that they would like added, I would like to give you the opportunity to get your item on the agenda. Okie doke. If that changes, feel free to shoot me an email and let me know, and I will add it. Adam, did any public comment come in while we were on the meeting? Adam, are you there?
Yep, there is no public comment.
No more public comment? Okay, thank you so much. All right, well, that being said, it is 5:03 p.m. and I am going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting and thank everyone for being a part of the call for the last 2 hours, and hopefully I will see you in person next month. Thank you all so much.
Bye, guys.
Be well.
Have a great day. Night.
Bye, Alan. Congratulations. Good job, Leanna.
Thanks. Bye.